All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. This time we are taking a look at the fascinating world of forces and magnets.
Forces and
We
magnets.
found this really cool knowledge organizer that's going to be kind of our guide today.
Oh, awesome.
And I have a feeling by the time we're done, you're going to see everyday objects in a whole new light.
I think so, too. I think this is going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking pushes and pulls and invisible fields.
Right.
It's like a superhero movie waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So let's start with the fundamentals here.
Okay.
What exactly is a force?
A force is essentially anything that can push or pull an object
Okay.
or even twist it.
Oh, right, the twist.
Yeah, we often forget about that one.
I always forget about the twist.
But it's definitely important, just think about like turning a doorknob.
Oh, yeah.
That's a twisting force in action.
So it's not just about, moving things around. It's about changing them, too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Forces are how we start and stop motion. They change direction, speed things up, slow them down,
Right.
and even change the shape of objects.
Wow, so they really are like the unsung heroes of, pretty much everything we do.
Absolutely. They're constantly at work all around us, even if we don't realize it.
Okay, well, speaking of forces we don't always realize, let's talk about friction.
Friction. Okay.
Our knowledge organizer has a whole section on this.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, is it a friend or foe?
Well, that's a great question. Friction can be a little bit of both.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes it's helpful, right? Like when we need grip.
Right, like to hold on to something.
Exactly.
Right.
But then other times it seems to be working against us.
Totally, yeah.
So essentially friction is that force that resists motion
Okay.
whenever two surfaces rub against each other.
Okay.
And the rougher the surfaces, the more friction you get.
So that's why sandpaper is so rough.
Exactly.
It's got like a lot of friction.
Exactly. Sandpaper has a very rough texture.
Right.
And that creates a lot of friction when it rubs against a surface like wood.
And that friction, actually takes off little pieces of the wood.
Yeah, essentially it's controlled wear and tear.
Interesting.
Which is why it's so good at smoothing things out.
Okay, so how about car brakes?
Car brakes. Okay.
Is friction a friend or foe when it comes to car brakes?
In that case, friction is definitely our friend.
Okay.
When you press the brake pedal, the brake pads clamp down on the rotors, creating a lot of friction, and that friction converts the kinetic energy of the moving car into heat.
Oh, wow.
Which slows it down.
That's really cool. I never thought about it like that.
It's pretty amazing.
But then there's that example in the knowledge organizer about worn tires
Oh, yeah.
actually helping race cars break speed records.
Right.
And I'm kind of confused because, we're saying that friction slows things down,
Right.
but then friction makes the car go faster.
That's a really interesting point, and it highlights kind of the complexities of friction.
Yeah.
So while smoother tires have less grip on dry surfaces, in certain racing conditions, like a wet track that reduced friction can actually help the car maintain speed.
How so?
It prevents it from hydroplaning.
Oh.
So it's all about finding that optimal balance.
Okay, so friction is way more nuanced than I initially realized.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, let's move beyond touching now and talk about forces that act at a distance,
Okay.
like magnets.
Magnets, all right.
This always feels kind of mysterious to me.
I understand. It's very different from friction, right?
Right.
Because you need contact for friction.
Yeah, you got to be touching.
But magnetism and gravity can exert their influence from afar.
Right, like gravity keeps us from floating away.
Keeps our feet on the ground.
But magnetism it's a little bit more mysterious.
Yeah, definitely. So as our guide says, magnetism is a force generated by magnets.
Okay.
And there are so many different types of magnets.
Oh, really?
You have your bar magnets, your horseshoe magnets.
I love horseshoe magnets. They're my favorite.
They're fun.
Ring magnets, button magnets.
Yeah, all sorts of shapes and sizes.
Oh,
It's pretty cool.
and they all have those poles, right?
They do. Every magnet has two poles,
North and south.
the north and south pole. And it's the interaction between these poles that creates the magnetic force.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, opposites attract. So the north pole of one magnet will attract the south pole of another. But poles repel each other.
So they push away.
Yeah, it's like a dance of attraction and repulsion.
That's cool. But why do they attract or repel?
Well, that's where the concept of magnetic fields comes in.
Okay.
You can't see it, but every magnet is surrounded by this invisible area of influence. It's called its magnetic field.
So that's what's doing the pushing and pulling.
Exactly. This field exerts a force on other magnets or magnetic materials that are within its range.
So even though we can't see it, it's like these invisible fields are battling it out.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's like an invisible force field.
That's really neat. Okay, so Are all metals magnetic?
That's a good question, and the answer is no.
Okay.
Not all metals are magnetic. The most common ones are iron and nickel.
Okay.
So if you hold a magnet near an object made of iron or nickel,
Yeah.
you'll feel that pull.
Okay. So it's got to have iron or nickel in it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Gotcha. All right, let's talk about electromagnets because this section in the knowledge organizer is really blowing my mind.
Electromagnets, they're super cool.
They're like magnets you can turn on and off.
Exactly, and that's what makes them so useful.
Okay.
So electromagnets create a magnetic field using electricity. So basically, you run electricity through a coil of wire,
Okay.
and boom, you have a magnet.
And then you turn the electricity off, and it's not a magnet anymore.
Exactly. You can switch the magnetic field on and off.
That's so cool, and there's so many applications for that.
Oh, tons of applications.
The knowledge organizer mentions doorbells, speakers, motors.
All sorts of everyday things.
Yeah, what about those maglev trains?
Oh, yeah, those are incredible.
They're like levitate.
They use electromagnets to levitate above the track,
Yeah.
which eliminates friction and allows them to travel at super high speeds.
It's like Back to the Future stuff.
It is. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
And MRI machines. Those are pretty incredible, too.
Absolutely. MRIs use powerful electromagnets
Yeah.
to create detailed images of the inside of the human body.
Oh, wow.
It's a medical marvel, for sure.
And then even things like cranes use electromagnets.
Oh, yeah. For heavy lifting.
Yeah, to move those giant steel beams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They provide the strength and control needed for those tasks.
It's amazing how something discovered, centuries ago can still be so useful today.
It really is. It's a testament to the power of these fundamental forces.
So I guess to sum it all up,
Okay.
forces are constantly shaping our world from the way we walk to the way we build skyscrapers.
Right.
And magnets, well, they're not just for the fridge anymore.
That's for sure. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and we should try to pay more attention to them
I think so, too.
because they're really quite fascinating.
Yeah. They are incredibly fascinating.
So the next time I see a moving object, I'm going to think about the forces at play.
That's great.
And when I see a magnet, I'm going to think about those invisible forces connecting the poles.
I love that. Yeah. Always keep an eye out for those unseen forces.
It's a whole new way to see the world.
It really is.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive,
It was my pleasure.
and we'll see you next time
See you later.
for another fascinating deep dive into the world around us. Bye, everybody.